Welcome to The Room, where real talk becomes real faith. Today, we're talking on a tough but necessary topic, the faith fallout. Why do people walk away from God? What causes the drift, the doubt, or the disconnection? My name is Ashley, and today we have Braylon, Isaac, and Brandon. You may hear some things that are not the direct viewpoint of Now Word Covenant Church. The intent is that this will spark conversation and biblical research in your personal circle. So grab your Bibles, open your hearts, and let's break it down with scripture, real talk, and zero fluff. This is the Faith Fallout. Okay, so setting the tone, painting the picture a little bit. You have one person A who gets to go out and drink with their friends 2 to 3 nights out of the week. They're going to Sunday brunch. They're pursuing all their professional careers. They don't feel like any certain ties to forgive somebody who has possibly hurt their feelings or gone about the right way. They get to say their favorite cuss word. They get to they get to meet up with their favorite hookup on a Friday night. Then you have person B who is falling prostrate, who is crying out to God, who is praying for their peers, who is falling under servant leadership, who maybe got passed up on a promotion because they're involved in 2 ministries. You have somebody who is actively seeking and questioning and praying to God and searching for certain things in their life. Maybe their finances aren't all together. Maybe they're just have a lot of questions about the world. And so kind of throw that out there and talk about why somebody would choose to leave the faith. I mean, look, doesn't side A look a lot better? I mean, we know
Right.
a lot of people, or a lot of us came from that side of we were doing whatever we wanted. So why choose to be person B?
It really comes down to what looks better for that person or what's easier for that person, right? It's easier to chase self-glory, right? It's easier to do the things that you want to do, that you have the heart to do, right? It's much harder to serve somebody who's higher than yourself, right? And so I think that's kind of just my initial thoughts on that question and why we tend to choose, we as people, why we tend to choose to be self-righteous and chase after self-glory versus living a life truly seeking after God.
I would just expound on that and say that as people, we love comfort. Like we seek to make our life as comfortable as possible. And doing what I want to do and not having to live to a standard that is pretty much that is impossible to maintain without the Holy Spirit.
Right.
That's what I would rather do. That's what Isaac's flesh would rather do. I'd rather do whatever I want to do. Because it's the easy way, right? That's just how we're wired as a fallen people, to just seek that comfort in the easy way out of everything.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that it's natural, right? It is human to do what is good for you, for yourself, self-preservation. But at the end of the day, you have to choose your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to do it now, but you potentially could pay for that later on, right? It's the concept of deferred gratification, right? So you can you can choose to not work now. There's all kinds of examples. I'm not going to work now. I'm going to relax, but later I'm going to be hungry because I didn't work, right? Or I'm going to work now and I'll have food later, right? So it's all those types of concepts. That's a very simple example, but at a very high level, right? If we don't choose to sacrifice, serve others, etc., you'll pay for that in the end in some form or fashion.
And I think it's hard for us to truly grasp eternity, right? If we're being honest, us as humans, like it's hard for us to grasp that we're going to be at 1 or 2 places for eternity, right? And so to Brandon's point, if we can't really grasp that, we'll tend to bend towards self-gratification. We'll tend to bend towards what we're comfortable to.
What's right now.
Exactly. Instead of really focusing on the greater good of humanity, the greater good of God's kingdom, but ultimately where our souls will be come eternity.
But you do also have to kind of take it from the other side and where these people are coming from in choosing to leave and choosing to, right, and seek comfort, because a lot of people have, and even people who are still consider themselves believers, right? Like it can't even be just that they're straight up walked away from the church. People believe, they have this false belief that God is there to give us whatever we want. And so when we're not getting those things, and it's like, well, what's the point? Why am I doing this when I feel like the world is serving me everything that I want? They're telling me that I'm perfect just the way that I am. They're telling me that it's not right that that person did that to me and I'm expected to just forgive them. There's a lot of those comforts that just come naturally because, you know, and this is, you guys know, I mean, I brought this up months ago, one time in a Bible study, but it's, you know, a lot of people expect that being a Christian is supposed to be just this positive, light-filled experience, and nothing wrong will ever come of it, of being in the walk. No harm will come to you, and that's just not true. It will be a hard walk. And on top of that, some of us will have harder walks than others. And that's a really hard concept to grab, is that you look at people around you and you maybe see people collecting their blessings, and you see people, you know, going off and doing all these things, and you feel like because that's not you, that maybe something's wrong with you or that God has failed you. And so I feel like that kind of starts to open the door for people to either question themselves or to question God.
Do you think questioning God is inherently wrong?
No, but I do think that people who start to question God or their faith just in general, question things about the Bible, not all people, but I do think some people think that that means something is wrong with them. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it can be a necessary part of your walk because you're supposed to hold people accountable to that, and you're supposed to find out what that relationship is for yourself. I'm not just going to walk up and meet Isaac. Isaac tells me he's a 5-time NBA championship player and be like, wow, that's so cool. I've never heard of you, right?
You wouldn't believe it?
And then, well, you know, go and do research. Let me just look up.
Hey, don't look up. Don't look up.
Let me just look up that name real quick. You go and you do research for yourself, right? And I think people, if they start to question or if they doubt, they're like, is there a heaven and a hell? Then that means that they're not actual believers. That's not true.
I think it's about a curiosity, though, right? Because what you're talking about is you don't know something, God, right? And you're going to build a relationship with them, right? The only way you can build that relationship is by having conversations, learning more about them, being curious, right? So doubting could be a part of that, but I would frame it more as a curiosity than a doubt overall.
I think the key, and that's what I was missing to tie in there at the end, is it's not just the doubt and the questioning, but it's the effort to continue to chase down the answer and not wait for somebody to prove you right or wrong or to prove this. Like a lot of people come in, or they've gone through so long through the faith, they're like, well, show me who you really are, God. And sometimes God will do that, right? Sometimes he will meet you where you are, but it's not everybody else's job we're all a community, but it's not, you're never going to find your answers, or your doubt will just continue to breed and it'll turn into something unhealthier.
I hear what you're saying. I think it goes back to kind of Brandon and Ashley. Y'all were kind of, I guess what I gathered is like, one, there's a trust, but there's a verification. And I have to go seek for myself, right? So if I have questions about the Bible, anybody, like, we can believe like that there's a God, right? But then I have to like move on faith, and there's some things that I cannot see that are in the spiritual realm that like, that's just pure faith, and I have to go seek. And like, if God tells me draw near, and I'll draw near to you, I gotta have faith that that'll happen if I try it, right? If I draw near to Him, and then once we do those things that are within the book, and we see the fruit of it, and I think that's how faith grows. But I think sometimes, if we don't do that and we just expect something to happen because I go to church on Sunday, because I go to Bible study, but I'm not really doing my part and I don't experience the growth, then that's how we can get a little bit of the falling away.
Yeah, and I mean, and there's really nothing wrong with asking questions, because there are some things that I still don't fully grasp or
100%.
understand. Like lately, I've been wanting to make this maybe an Ask PK, but I still struggle with the concept of free will and God's plan. We have free will, but God has already, like, everything's already been ordained, but you have a choice, but he knows how it's going to work out, right? So, like, that can be very confusing to somebody who's either a non-believer or who is new in the faith, or... And it's confusing to me as a believer for, a long, long time now. But that's okay. That doesn't mean that I'm sitting here saying, but that's just today, right? Like if there were other things happening in my life and compiling and compounding, I could see how that could also be a part of just a larger issue where I'm like, am I a Christian? Do I need to... A lot of the conversation online of people walking away from the faith, they call it deconstructing Christianity, right? And deconstructing is not necessarily the issue, right? You look at the definition of deconstructing and you have a building and then you take it apart and you can look at the pieces individually and you can find out where the problems are. You can inspect them more closely, but the key is reconstructing and reconstructing it right, not just based on... Because there's a lot of people that consider themselves, well, I reconstructed my faith, but they only put the pieces of the building that they liked. But there's holes in the building.
Yeah.
It
Cherry
wasn't.
picking.
Yes. And that's also the other problem is why I think a lot of people walk away from the church is because they see God as an all-loving God and everything's all positive. And then your brother comes out as gay. And now you're faced with the hard decision of, do I love God or my brother more? Do I love this person that's right here in front of me that I've grown up with my entire life? Or do I love this being that I'm supposed to have faith in? Well, my faith tells me, right, some people take it as they're supposed to shun it. And that's, we know that is not true. But if you're not firm and rooted in that, now you're faced with an almost impossible decision of, well, that's not right. My God would never tell me to not love my brother or tell my brother he's not perfect the way that he is because I love my brother. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
Question for the group. Ashley, while you were talking, you said, when these things come up, you have to be firm and rooted in the word and in your faith in order to not be wavered, as I would put it. How do we as a church, universal, right? Church universal. How do we as a church body help these individuals or help individuals, period, get firm and get rooted in their word to where they can't waver? What do we think about that?
I think the answer is community, right? Because you will waver, 100% chance, right? You will have times where you need help, and you will have, rough times, and so will everyone else. So if you are around those who have the ability to assist you during those times, right? To help bring you up and to help and surround you, then it'll help you through those hard times. It's not if, it's a win. The converse is also true, right? So if you are moving one direction but surround yourself with a group of people who are going a different direction, the probability of going that direction is extremely high. We all know that, right? Birds of a feather flock together. Tell me who your friends are, I'll tell you who you are. It's all about community at the end of the day.
So, the key to answer all of that, it is about community, and it's about being so sensitive to each other's needs, because discontentment can easily lead to resentment, right? There could be a number of things. You could be overwhelmed in ministry. You could just be feeling like you're going through a hard time outside of the church. You could just be, there's a lot of stuff. And then that builds up, then it turns into resentment. And then what happens there is now the devil has a crack that he's opening. And that's when the world starts to slip through. He doesn't even need to do anything with that. The world is already ready and telling you, we mentioned earlier, you don't need that. You deserve better. You don't need to be overworked. You could be putting that time and money and effort into building your career. You could be, it's not that serious. You're not a bad person. And all these sound good to somebody who is overwhelmed and who is beat up and who is filled with resentment. But when you don't have community and you don't have somebody checking in on one another, there's nothing to, like you said, to combat what the world is telling them. There's nothing on the flip side saying, yes, those things are true, right? You are going through a hard time. This is hard, but here's the flip side of that. This is who we are as a community, and not even in a brainwash way. It's just, we are here to support you, and it's okay to feel those things. And guess what? While you're feeling those things, I will stand in the gap for you. Not just that's where I've seen a lot of church hurt too, is people don't provide real solutions to people's real life problems. Oh, you should really pray on that. Well, you should look into and fast and figure out why those demons are attacking you. Because now you've flipped it to, I'm feeling this type of way, and you're putting it even more on me and feeling like it's like you're just kind of putting a Band-Aid on it.
Is that community though?
It's not, and that's the point.
I need help, and I say, yeah, you should work on that.
Right. No, that's my point. Is it's not just a Band-Aid. It's not, you're not actually listening to that person's like, that's great and all, but I can't feed my family.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that is, I hear what you're saying, but I am living with my partner and I have nowhere to go. Like, how do I fix that? Don't just say, well, God really wouldn't want, no, duh. Like, that's why I'm coming to you trying to fix that problem. This is a real problem I'm trying to fix.
You know, when I think about like the heart of Jesus and his ministry when he was on the earth, he met needs of people, right? When he's coming off the Sermon on the Mount and he's in Matthew, and it was like, I think right after that, it was he fed the 5,000 people, right, with the 5 loaves and 2 fish. He was tired. He was getting away from people, and they followed him. And then he went and met the needs of people, right? And so one thing I believe we should be doing is literally meeting the needs of people. I think that's where tithes come in, right? That sort of things, to where someone goes to a church and they're like, hey, I need this. And we can give them what they need, right, in the physical, but then we can also feed their spirit too. I saw this thing on TikTok. It was a lady who was calling like different churches,
That viral thing,
talking about like formula or something like that. And there were some churches that did not, like, they didn't give her any because they said she wasn't a member. And it kind of sparked a little bit of discourse online, right? Should they, right, be helping this woman out or this family who needed baby formula? Or is that a members only program?
Actually, it turned out that she didn't give all the details. She was looking. It was looking for.
My bad, y'all.
It was looking for a quick yes or no, but they were asking for more information or saying, hey, trying to direct to this resource that the church may have, because maybe the church doesn't have access to immediate, right?
Right.
And I think that's really important. As somebody, I work social media and I see all these requests come in. There's a ton of scammers.
Oh yeah.
It is a legitimate thing. Like. We are supposed to be generous, and that is absolutely correct. But then on the flip side, you also have to protect the community, because imagine somebody who's giving they're giving tithes, and they find out you sent $10,000 to somebody overseas who, in Apple gift cards, and like a typical. I would feel some type of way about that, and not that it just happened once, happened multiple times.
Got to keep the seasoned saints out of that.
And
they fall for that.
All it turned into was an opportunity for people to bash the churches, right? Like you're presenting one side, which is true, and maybe she was just saying, no, I just was looking to see who would or who wouldn't, because you're just trying to point me in another direction. Well, no, not all churches have enough money and resources to be able to do that. But it's the flip side is true. We should not be turning people away that are actually in true need and coming for help.
So how do we meet the needs of people as a body of believers, not just now word, while protecting and being a good steward of tithes and offerings, and maybe not even that, just like time and everything too, right? We can't be everywhere all at once. But I do believe historically the church has played a significant role in society in meeting the needs of people, like literally meeting the needs of people. Whether it's like a soup kitchen, like whatever it is, I think churches have been very charitable in that sense. So how do we do that? Because I think that's one way that we can show people the heart of God, just one way, and then share the word with them at the same time.
That's a hard question, I would say. I mean, traditionally, churches have been around to support their community, right? But now that we have online presence, we have all sorts of things.
Yeah.
What is the community? Is the community the whole world? Can one's church support the whole world? The answer is no, right? There's too many. The resources are slim, right? So how do you define what that community is? It gets kind of tricky, right? To be honest.
I think that's tough because it's funny, right? So we should be serving the communities, we should be serving people, but it's also like we're expected to serve it in the way that the world expects us to, right? And so it's a little bit different. Like we should be meeting the exact needs. We should be coming together of the people in the local community, but it doesn't always have to look like how the world expects generosity, right? Because we're even more generous than that. We're more generous with our time. We're more generous with our money and our efforts, but we shouldn't be flipping it to be, oh, look, yes. And so like the answer to that dilemma also shouldn't be like, well, anybody who comes and asks for a formula now, is it going to be a joke? Let's make sure we're passing the vibe. But we also don't have to prove ourselves outside of it's accountability, and it's about, right, seeing where that money goes and seeing how we're helping people. I mean, we bought car for somebody in the church before, you know what I mean? We've given to other churches in need who can then go and serve their communities, right? And some of those are overseas missions. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of like this expectation put on us by the world of you're supposed to serve the world and you're supposed to do all these things, but it's kind of funny because we don't answer to you guys. We answer in the way that God wants us to move.
That's true.
Well, what you just mentioned right there is the way that God wants us to move. So it comes from a spirit of, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do with this?
Right.
Versus,
Right.
I got this idea, but is that you or is that me? Is that you, Lord, or is that Isaac? That's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, that heart posture from the church. But I think that can be misunderstood if you're not in the body, if you're not like in the fellowship, that I'm answering to someone else and I'm moving off of what I feel the Spirit telling me to do.
We're going to be so generous that that's what causes people to come to the faith, right? Like we get comfortable in preaching to the people who are already found instead of trying to reach the lost, is that our generosity is going to look so different, and that's why people want to come, because they're going to say, how could you ever want to do that for me? Because the world by nature is not generous. It's, well, you have to take care of yourself first. Does it serve you first? This is going to be like, when you go out into the world, people are going to be like, why would you do that?
Countercultural.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that doing those types of things, I would call it radical type things, is essentially what gets the attention of others, right? So that applies to not just the church, that applies to you individually as well. So if you are living your daily life and you are doing something that is radically different than your community or your peers, that gets people's attention. And people's attention, you're going to pique their interest. Say, hey, why are you different? And there's your opportunity to witness right there.
I would say being radical also brings persecution.
True.
And that radicalness can also be a part of the, it can turn some people off, right? And we're talking about kind of like somehow some people may leave the faith. Maybe sometimes that radicalness may be too much. Okay, so like sometimes I think we get the reputation as like, maybe I'm a holy roller or holier than thou because of the lifestyle that we choose to lead that is opposite of the culture. And sometimes that can turn people to Christ, but there are some people that it's going to turn away because of me, in a sense. I may rub them the wrong way, even though, I mean, my heart might be right. I might be out of love, right? But it's just different. It's different.
I think self-righteousness is a huge turnoff.
There we go. Yeah.
PK was just talking about it on Sunday. You know, you could have the right message, but the wrong approach or wrong delivery of it. And it doesn't matter. At that point, we say it all the time at work, your intention versus impact, right? So like you could say, well, that's not what I meant, but look at the impact it had.
Yeah.
You caused someone to turn away in that moment. It's not about being perfect and, like you said, oh, we shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, no, I know that, but I'm not living the life that you're living.
That is good. We can't judge somebody that's not held to the same standard that we are.
No, you should,
Right.
and you shouldn't.
Right? Like when the Bible talks about judgment, it's talking about believer to believer versus I can't get on somebody else who's not in the faith. Say, hey, that's a sin. Like if they don't know it's a sin, then it's not a sin to them. Right? So we have to educate and then once people believe that all are sinners and falling short of the glory of God, then we can show them like, hey, this is where we're falling short. This is where I'm falling short. And this is how we close that gap.
So I definitely have thoughts on this, but how often is it the church and not God that people are walking away from?
I think it's quite often, but that's in my head right now. That's the sad part because the church should be a reflection of God.
Should be.
And it's not. And that's what hurts my heart right now is, but at the same time, we, the people that are in the church, what are we doing to lead these people astray, right? And so just being open and honest, right? Something that God's been working with me on is the individuals that I'm discipling, right? And it's kind of a heavy weight when you sit down and think about it. Like you have a role to play in their growth as a Christ follower. That sentence that I just said is very, very scary when you think about it. You could lead them to Christ or you can lead them away from Christ for eternity, going back to what we were talking about earlier. And so for me, I've just been sitting with that and kind of wrestling with that and talking to God about that. Is like, man, I don't want to lead people astray, right? And I don't want to be the reason, or I was living my life a certain way and that turned people off. I don't, you can't control everything. But at the same time, I guess I just have a heart after saving God's people. But at the same time, I also know that you can't save everybody. Those who have an ear, let them hear. But at the same time, it's I have to play my role in building up the church in order to grow his kingdom and bring his kingdom here on earth. And so I think it's, going back to the question, I think it's a lot of times where people will walk away from church as the building, as the community, not necessarily walking away from God. But then another question that I would add to that is if those individuals or claim that they're not walking away from God, but they're walking away from the church, are they actually walking away from God? That's kind of the next question that I had in my head. But
another way I would ask that question is, what are you walking to? If you're walking away from something, you're walking towards something else. So
Very true.
You can walk away from this body of believers. Let's call it now word, right? You can walk away from here because something went on here. I hope not, but something went on here, right? If you're not walking away from God, then you're walking into another community of believers that are going to welcome you and do life with you there, right?
I also think that what the question that you just asked is also the problem that a lot of people who are walking away are facing. They're like, well, I just walked away from the church. I'm just leaving religion, not leaving God. I'm spiritual. I believe in God.
What does that mean?
That's a red flag.
Ooh,
that's a red flag. The
That,
lives that we like, all of that.
that hit some nerves there. But I mean, we could talk about.
What does that mean?
But we could talk about that, right? I mean, that's a part of the biggest flags of people who leave the church, right? And we don't even have to say walk away from God because they think they have good intentions. I believe in God. Well, yeah, so do a lot of other religions. They know that Jesus was a real man who walked the earth, but what does that look like? And so they think that spiritual, and that's the New Age spirituality. It's cute to have rocks and incense and, oh, I just hold this crystal with me and wear it around my heart, but I also believe in God. But I'm going to flip over these tarot cards to tell me what's going to happen to me because it feels good. Oh, today, don't worry about it. No wonder all this is going wrong in my life because the moon's out of misalignment.
Retrograde.
And but look how pretty that sounds to somebody who doesn't have true foundation and firm in chaos. I can look to something else and it's not my fault. I have so many people that I know, and I'm not going to throw them on it, but there's so many people that look to those things and they see nothing wrong with it because it's the universe and Mother Earth, and God created the universe, so how could that be bad? And not even that. I mean, there are some people who believe in God and the universe, and then there's just people who just believe in the universe. There's two different sides to that. But look how pretty that package looks. Back to how we started it off at the beginning. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
It's something in the sky, silly me, the constellation, and our signs don't match up. And there's an answer for everything except that it's you or that it's sin. Because maybe sometimes it's not you. Maybe it was somebody else.
It's easier to blame somebody else or
Exactly.
something else than to take ownership for yourself, right? If we are all inherently selfish, right? We think about ourselves first. We want to self-preservation. We want to gratify ourselves. And it's much easier to say, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm perfect in every way. No, and I feel like every person knows we all have opportunities in some form or fashion. We know that, right?
Right.
So it's easier to just push that off to something else.
Which is funny because we don't want to accept accountability. I'll say we. It doesn't even have to be people who have walked away. We don't want that, but it's also the same reason why somebody has walked away from the faith.
True.
Because we're like, oh no, like I don't want to be the one who's at fault or wrong for everything. But then on the flip side, you didn't take accountability. You didn't fix this rift that's between us. And so it's the duality of what our expectations are versus what we actually want to be held accountable. And it goes back to the comfortability. We're okay pointing fingers and putting these expectations on other people, but not of ourselves. So it's this vicious cycle of we're constantly searching and seeking this from other people, but we'll never get it because we're not putting it into practice for ourselves. And that's why that's a big reason people look at other people's characters instead of God's character, and that's why they walk away.
That's a form of idolatry.
Right.
If I'm looking to someone else to be my representation of God, right? PK says, follow me as I follow Christ. If he's not following Christ anymore, one, I got to know what Christ is saying.
Come on.
So I can know if he's following Christ.
Come on.
But if he's not doing it, then I'm not following you. And like whoever it is, it's not just PK, whoever it is, right? Follow me as I follow Christ. So if I'm being discipled by someone, they need to be following Christ. And I have to have some sort of compass to know if they're doing that. And that compass is God's word.
Yeah.
So I do want to go back to the original question too, or not the original, but just the last question that was asked. I think as people who are in the church, we focus a lot on church hurt because we know a lot of people, or maybe we ourselves are personal or familiar with it. But what about the other? I do think people truly walk away from God because they have an expectation of God to do something. And we touched on it a little bit earlier. They have this expectation that God was going to, my family member was sick, and the church told me that God can heal and do all things, which is true. That is true. God can do anything. That doesn't mean that he will or that it's in his plan. And I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of people to come to terms with is God and suffering. How can you be a loving God that also allows suffering? But it's because we all know from sin, and it's we say it in the main prayer, Lord, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Your will, not what I asked, not what I need in this. I mean, what I think I need, because obviously it all works out in the end. But tell me I'm wrong, but that's a perfectly valid reason for somebody to be upset with God if they don't know. I mean, look at Job's life. That was a hard life to live. Look, if I was Job, I don't. But you don't know because you've never gone through
Right.
tragedy after tragedy after tragedy and falling on your face and literally having nothing. I mean, some people do, like, right, but you don't know what you're made of until you go through it. And people don't want to look at that part of the Bible. They want to look at the blessings and look at all the stuff that will be promised to you. And I'm rambling at this point, but it's a hard thing to come to terms with.
To that point, Ashley, we as people don't really know God. Don't really know the true living God, right? We just, going back to your house analogy, we just pick and choose certain parts that we want in our lives, and then we hold on to that. But we don't actually know God's heart. We don't actually know the will of God. And I think if we actually knew the will of God, or if we searched to find the will of God, then that would cover all of those different answers that we have there and all of the different struggles that we're possibly going through. And have a true, authentic relationship with God to know what he's saying, what he wants, and how he wants things to be done.
See, I look at it, looking at it from the biblical point of view, right? We're supposed to get tested. James 1 talks about when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy, right? For when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. And so we have to have a test for our faith to be proven.
Yeah.
And if we look at trials and these hard stuff that we go through in this world through that lens, then we can consider it pure joy, right? But if I look through the lens that like what I want and what I think is best for me, then I will be disappointed. I'll be disappointed in the outcome.
Even if you get it.
Even if I
what you
do.
want.
Even if I do. Because there's always going to be something else.
Or maybe your plan is not as good as his plan was.
That's true, too. That's true.
But I do say people think of unanswered prayers as being a direct punishment from God, which it might have been in the Old Testament, right? Or it might have been the fiery and like, oh, you're doing this and you're worshiping another God. But, people, when you don't know the full Bible, right? We are living a life of punishment. This is not eternal. You are going, there's sin, but we have been redeemed. So whatever bad comes our way is not a punishment from God. It's not punishment just because it's happening.
It's a consequence
It's
of
just
living
a
in the
result
world.
of what it is of living here, right? But I think that the unanswered prayers makes people think that there's something wrong with them or they have done something wrong to deserve this. Because that's what the world teaches you. You do something wrong, you deserve something bad back, right?
Are we, how much of like stuff that happens is a consequence of us though? And we like try to pray ourselves out of it. Like, oh man,
Facts.
I didn't study for this test, but Lord, please, I need an A. Give me an A.
And then you fail.
Like, bro, you didn't study.
That's on you.
You did it to yourself. And God can work miracles and do things that are exceedingly and abundantly. Like, I vape and now my lungs are messed up. Like, Lord, fix my lungs. Yes, God can. But that doesn't mean that he will. And if he doesn't, he's still God.
True.
Right? And so that has to click in our mind that, Lord, this is what I want. If it's in your will. If it happens, bless you. If it doesn't happen, bless you. And that you have to have such a mature heart posture to be able to really accept that and live it. Like, I think about Pastor C. She's walked with God. She has led his people. And now she's battling cancer. Yep. And every time I see her, there's been so many times, like I sit behind her at church, and there was this one time I didn't know she had cancer yet, but I was looking at her worship, and I was like, man, like it touched me. And then like a couple Sundays later, like she gave her testimony, and I was like, dang.
Yeah.
And then it touched me. It just pricked my heart some more. I was like, man, if this woman can worship like this in the midst of like, you don't know how much time you got with your family here, but now there's glory on the other side. And the only way you can do that is if you believe that there's glory. It doesn't mean it's not hard to do it.
It's true.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to have such a mature posture towards God and relationship to really be able to walk that out when we're in those trials.
So on that note of having expectations of God, you know, there's the flip side. People have expectations of church, right? We talked a little bit about it earlier. I mean, some people expect to come to church and be given things. What are you going to do for me? I need this. I need that. What are you, or not even just material things. It could be, I think we talked about it in a few episodes ago. You don't have a playground. You don't have a children's ministry. You don't have X, Y, and Z. But all that to say is, sometimes is church hurt just a cop-out? Have you actually really been offended by people, or is it because they didn't move in the way you wanted them to, and now you have church hurt? I'm going to walk away because I'm mad at everybody, but did you stop and check your own heart?
Consumerism, that's what it is, right? I come to church, I expect to get all these things. I didn't get these things. Now I'm upset. I'm going to go try a new brand, right? I hate to say it like that, but that could be what it is, right?
We go to a different franchise.
Hey,
My bad, too much.
Hey.
I don't want to get back into last week or last pod.
It sounds like you do, brother. Hold on now. It sounds like something on your heart.
Might have left that on the bone, left a little bit of meat on the bone. But yeah, I mean, you're right? We have commodified the gospel. And man, bruh, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher. I'm the preacher of my own home. You know what I'm saying? I'm the priest in my house. You know, but I submit to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But right, I get ads on Facebook for like different people selling.
Back on his heart. It's on his heart.
I got another one. I screenshot. I wanted to send it to y'all, man.
He hasn't stopped thinking about this for the last few weeks.
For like,
Tell him what it was.
Selling sermons. People sell sermons.
That's crazy.
And it's like, what are we doing?
ChatGPT will write a whole sermon. You don't have to ask it. Just said, would you like me to put this into a sermon format with bullet points and scripture reference? And
I'm going to read this one to you right here. Preaching hard but seeing no increase. Get the double in 90 days method. It shows you how to attract 8 to 10 guests every Sunday for $4.99.
let us know if you would go and listen to Pastor Isaac.
Come on,
with
bro.
his AI.
The double in 90 days is killing me, bro.
For $4.99.
Metrics, you got the dashboard, the whole thing.
Days.
Come on, man.
Where's my ROI on that? I need to see my dollars.
But let's think about this though. Like, if I am searching for something real, and I'm coming into the house of the Lord for something real, and this is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Some sort of manipulated. Oh, I want your butt in the seat. I'm not I'm not gonna get what I'm here for.
Right.
And if I am truly searching, and I do leave, and then I don't come back, then we really lost somebody because we're trying to manipulate stuff for numbers.
So you talk about manipulation. Let's talk. I mean, it might be too deep, but religion was used as a method to control the masses, and I don't think that's really left people ever since. I think that self-doubt has always been in there. It's the white person. It's the white man's religion. Yes, like.
You all right, bro?
It
Yeah, I'm
started
good.
not that that's what we believe, but that's what a lot of people say, right? They call it the white man's religion because it was a colonization thing, right? They came and they forced that on people, or they used it as a way of, we mentioned earlier, you're going, well, you don't deserve this because you're not doing this, right? Like using it to manipulate people, or using it as a way of hope. Talk about slavery. Why do you think, I mean, they allowed the slaves to have Bibles, but they couldn't have anything else. It's used as a form of control. And that was wrong. Yeah. Man was wrong for all the ways, right? Like, we're supposed to go, and it's supposed to be free will. Those people didn't get any more increase in God's eyes for forcing, right, coming to America and forcing it on the people who were here. But I think that has always, right, manipulation. Mm-hmm. So something like that comes up, and it's already ticking something in their brain to say, oh, look, that confirms what I already believe. Mm-hmm. Oh, that already shows me what I already like.
Confirmation bias.
You literally, and the world does that a lot with religion because it's a thing of power control. It's like you walk into the doctor's office and the doctor tells you something. You're not really going to question it that much unless you already have, some knowledge behind it. You're going to be like, well, it's what my doctor told me. Or you see all these cases now coming out of doctors who have taken advantage of their clients in different ways. Coming into a church and being vulnerable and looking for help from God or from other people and not being given that, and then seeing, like, of course, like, it's a power thing, and of course it's going to make you want to shut it out and turn away right away. That's just a natural instinct that we have to protect ourselves.
I agree. I think about when you talk about slavery a little bit, like, for the Black community, that's one of those ones.
Yeah.
That is a
trigger.
Yes, a trigger, a go-to. You talked about confirmation bias. It's like, I just want to look for one thing, maybe that confirms something that I already believe, right? Or that I've heard before. And it's like, oh, that matches up. But I mean, as for me, I don't think it's a white man's religion, right?
Yeah.
I haven't done a gazillion years of homework on it, but I know that Christianity has roots in Africa, in Ethiopia, and some other countries in that region. And so was it given to them by the white man? Did they bring it with them? You know what I'm saying? There's sides that say both. And for me, it's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins because I'm a sinner. And because of that, I get a chance to have a relationship.
Come on, brother. Yes, sir.
There you go.
I'm so proud of you right now, boy. That takes some spiritual growth. I'm loving it, bro. I'm loving it.
Put me in the Mr. AJ Sunday boat, huh?
That was good. That was good.
Oh, man. He's not in the room.
Well, I will say, just a few more things here. I do think that there's opportunity in the church, and that's how we'll exit it out, is how we can go and be better as believers. But I think there is opportunity in the church for, one, either better teachings, right? We know that there are churches out there that twist the word and cause church hurt, and they go the extreme, right? They actively cause hurt in other people's lives. That's one. But I think there's opportunity for an expansion on the word itself, right? And so just like for some examples of what I've seen people out there when I was looking and why they left the church is they take negative connotations from maybe only this much was given and it wasn't fully, like the thought wasn't fully expanded on, and maybe it's not the church's fault, but don't be self-centered versus being selfless, right? So like we're taught to be selfless, but then some people take that to the extreme and they're like, well, they told me that I can't do this, and then they never do anything for themselves or never stick up for themselves, which is really not the intention of what's being taught behind it. But if they don't know to ask questions, or again, it's this power dynamic between, well, that's what they told me to do, or being a woman, right? Be meek, be humble. And then they take that and it, in their mind, it equals don't stand up for yourself or don't stand up for things that are wrong. And that's not true.
Submitting in the feminist movement.
Correct.
And all that sort of stuff, yeah.
Right. And so a lot of people, when they leave, they're like, well, I was told this, and I was told if I did this, then I would be a good wife or I would find a husband. But all it got me was 15 years of being single or an abusive husband, because I never stood up for that. But that's not what the point of the teaching was, right? And so I think there's opportunity. And even when people say, or when people come into it and they say, I can't hear God, like we don't talk about that enough. Like PK has recently been talking about it more, but imagine being a new believer and they're like, just talk to God, wait to hear from God on a direction. And you're like, hello? Like the echoing, like, are you there? And then you think something's wrong with you. So I think there's just opportunity in our community to talk about these things and talk about it with one another and build each other up and fill in those gaps where Sunday service doesn't always reach, or maybe even just reading the Bible. We're reading it and we are man, and we could possibly misinterpret it. Not even, we could have good intentions going into it, and it's not right.
You know, when I'm just thinking about closing thoughts, and like, I don't think God is absent.
Never.
Like, even when we may feel far from him, there's something for us to do to seek after him. And so I would really just encourage anyone who may be like just thinking like, man, well, like, what is, I don't know, like something don't feel right. Like, try it. Just try it. Try it. Test his word. Test his word, and it will not come back void. Right. But I don't know. Like, I was just sitting there to what you were thinking when you were talking. I was just like, bro, like, we have work to do on our end for sure as the church and as believers. But at the same time, come with an open mind, open heart. Try it. Try God. Don't try church. Try God and see what happens.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think that trying God is essentially saying building that one-on-one connection with him, right? You're building it with him, and that is what will sustain you. No matter where you are, no matter who's around you, that is what will sustain you as long as you continue to renew your mind and learn more about him. Learning more about him will reveal his will to you, and then you'll be able to interact with him better, right? More efficiently in understanding what he wants in his will. And I have this one verse I want to leave with everyone. It's 1 Thessalonians 5:12. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, right? That's really the point of community, because although you will be able to have that relationship with him, and you're gonna work, you're gonna study, all those things, you will fall. You have opportunities, right? There will be times that you need to have that community around you to build you up. And I think that's probably the most important piece of it, in addition to passing that along and building others up as well. As they feed into you, you feed into them.
Yeah, I would also add to that, in James it talks about active faith and how this faith walk is not just a passive thing of, oh, I'm expecting this from God, and he's basically not expecting anything from me. And so kind of to Brandon's point and Isaac's point, I would just encourage anybody out there, anybody listening, to continue to pursue God. But then on top of that, too, continue to pursue the real, true, and living God. Not the God that is made up, or not the God that gives you everything that your heart desires without you doing any work for him or glorifying his kingdom or anything like that. So just really understanding the true heart of God. And then I think once we get to a point to where we understand the true heart of God, we will have a heart after his people. We will really groan and feel some type of way when people leave the faith. When people, I was talking to some people at work, and people would go and move, and then they would try to get people at our job to go over there with them. And that's kind of what's happening in the faith, right? The devil has a hand on certain individuals. They would go astray, and now they're trying to come in and take some people away. And I think for us as, humbly speaking, for us as faith-filled, dedicated Christians, that should make us entirely upset, right? Especially for those of us that are competitors. It should bring out something inside of you to where you don't want that to happen, right? Ultimately, to wrap it all up, I think it just comes down to understanding the true, authentic God and fully seeking after him.
I would probably just end it with, take a note and ask, what can we learn from those who have walked away? Where can we see ourselves in those, and not attack, just because it's really fascinating and interesting. And because we are man, and because we are a man made in God's image, the feelings that they feel are not wrong, right? And it's not always about feelings, but you have to meet people where they are. And just some of it's valid and some of it's not. Some people really are authentically church hurt and misled, and some people, but start with why. Why did you walk away? Why are you deconstructing? And then take that and either use it as a way to try and get them back, and some people may never come back, or actively use that to prevent other people from falling into the same trap or hurt. Thank you for pulling up a seat with us today in the room. We hope today's conversation challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you something deeper to think about. Don't forget to connect with us through social media, and if this episode spoke to you, share it and tag us. We'll see you next time for another relevant, faith-filled conversation. Until then, stay rooted, stay real, and stay in the room.